episode of This Is Our Normal podcast. I'm your host, Saul Jones, and oh my god, guess what, guys? Part 2! Yeah, that's right, part 2. We are listening to the second half of the Aime Jones episode. We went a little long, but it was worth it, and I know you've all been dying to find out what happens at the end of that story. So we're going to do that, but first, I just want to remind everybody you can go to thisisournormalpodcast.com. There's a contact link on there. Please use that contact link. Contact the show, write in, give us comments. If you want just to write something to the show, we'll read them. We'll read them on air. If you want to set up something where you can call in, hit that contact link. Let us know. Joel, he's an audio engineer. He will make that happen. You can call in to the podcast. That's right. If you want to support the show, which I know you do, and you're like, so I don't want to give you any money, you're a drug addict, and I'm like, I know. Guess what? We don't need any money. What we need you to do is for completely free, the best way to support the podcast. Go to iTunes, hit subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, I cannot stress this enough, leave us a comment. Any type of comment on the 5-star rating on iTunes, we need it. Please give it to us. I know you want to help us. We appreciate it. But guess what? We're about to roll into part 2 of the Aime Jones episode, and you are going to love this shit. Love it! Hey! You're going to love it. Let's do this. Roll it in, Joel. Hit me.
So we're on the freeway. Now we're going the direction of home. So now I realize I just need to convince him to get me home because now all I can think about is Wes, and I just want to get to my baby because I was given that baby, charge of that baby, and I need to raise him, not these people who clearly failed. So I am praying in my head still, and then Gary starts, he's swerving, and I look at his face, and his eyes are rolling back in his head. So he is just swerving all over the road.
I do want to note on something really quick. You said that you're worried about these people, his parents.
Yes.
Because they have your kid, and you're like, if I die, they're going to raise him, and they've failed at raising this dude.
Yeah.
Right? I don't believe that parents can fail at raising a child unless the child dies, no matter what, even with all the trauma and everything like you've been through and that our family, it's like all that trauma and stuff, you're a survivor, you're greater and better for it. I don't think parents can fail at anything because they do the best.
Okay, I totally agree with what you're saying.
But wait, I just want to say with his parents. So his parents.
Yes, you know his parents. Come on now.
I do know his parents.
His dad clearly has a personality disorder, toxic, cluster B. Gary, I think, is not just his addiction. He's definitely cluster B.
So he's dual diagnosis.
Right.
And his parents, you're right. They're like, you're worried. I would be worried too.
Right.
I would be very
I shouldn't
worried.
have said they failed raising him. You're right. I should just say clearly a mental illness that makes them unsuitable to raise a child.
I could see that.
And untreated.
Because I know them.
And some cluster Bs aren't treatable anyway. There's no treatment.
But like Gary, all these issues that you're describing all these times, he's loaded. He's on drugs.
Right.
And that's not a parent failing or not failing. That's out of a parent's control whether a child is an addict.
Except that they would lie about it and give him money.
They would help him and do it. Once he was older.
Bail him out as an adult.
Yeah.
You constantly buy him cars and things like that. Okay.
I just wanted to say, there's nothing that a parent can do to create an addict, and there's nothing a parent can do to prevent somebody from being one because it's a disease and you're born with it. That was my only point.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. Okay. It was my fault. I worded that incorrectly.
No, you hold on. That's fine. I wasn't saying that, you worded it fine. I just wanted to point out your way is fine. It feels like a terrible place for your child.
Yes.
You didn't want your child there.
No.
That's understandable. Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
And I feared that if I died, since they are, and Gary as well, they already have the child, they would be like next of kin and automatically get him, even though I had sisters.
Yeah.
That could definitely be more suitable.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Which
is ridiculous because, why wouldn't it go to your family? It's your child. It came out of you.
Right. Well,
to your siblings, If
no, it would make sense that his parents would have custody. It's just that for me, that's terrifying.
Yeah. I know. I would have been terrified.
So we're driving. His eyes are rolling back in his head. Seems to be losing consciousness. So even though I'm completely terrified of him, I'm terrified in this moment. And my natural reaction is to smack him as hard as I can across the face and scream, wake up, wake up, wake up. Oh my gosh, we're going to crash. So he immediately is completely 100% alert. And he's very angry that I smacked him in the face. He's not happy. And I immediately pull back.
I'm sorry, I don't mean, but
I mean, it's funny now because I lived.
It's funny
I
now.
survived.
This
I'm
is
here.
terrible.
No, it was pretty bad. Okay, so then I'm apologizing. I'm so sorry, but we're gonna crash. And he says he doesn't want to live, and so now I'm telling him, oh, now I'm screaming to God. Actually, this is before that. I'm screaming to God right after he's come back to, and he's really angry. I'm screaming to God. I'm like, God, you can't let me die. I've been through so much in my life. There's no way you don't have a plan for me. You have a plan for me, God. You have a plan for me. I need to raise Weston. You need to get me home to Weston.
I have a brother that's going to be an addict.
I didn't know that. That disappointed. He was probably like, oh,
I was about 12.
Looks like we're running out of time, so we best.
Well, yeah. Finish your story.
I
want to hear. We'll go as long as. Well, hey, if we gotta go a little long, go a little long.
People might tune out.
No, let's hear it. People want to know if you lived. No, this is a great episode. Nobody's tuning out of this. People are listening and liking.
So I'm screaming to God, and then Gary, and I'm saying, please protect, Weston. Please protect me, God. Yeah. Please deliver me to Weston. Mm-hmm. And then he's saying to me, and, I'm like, in Jesus' name. And then all of a sudden, Gary looks at me and he goes, oh, what? You're not going to say a prayer for your husband? And so I'm like, and God, please help Gary. And I really meant it. I was like, please help him get us home safely. And then he's telling me that I don't love him. So now I go into survival mode. And so now I'm a little manipulative. Against my will. I feel like I had to do this. I start telling him, no, I love you. I change my mind.
I mean, you're just trying anything at this point.
Let's not get divorced.
Yeah.
Let's go home to our house. Let's leave Weston at your parents' house for the night. Let's go back to our house and make a night of it and just talk everything through, and we'll work things out.
Yeah.
And it worked. He started driving more sanely. By the way, at no point during this whole duration has any cop done anything. I didn't even see one highway patrol the entire time.
No, but you go 5 over and all of a sudden there they are.
It's like, where are they? They were all off that night. So we get to the house and we get out of his truck, and my 4Runner is there, and I have the keys to it. Now, if you hit the unlock button, which you have to disable the alarm thing, you get in, but then you have to lock it from the button in the door so that someone can't get in. If I locked it again from the clicker, it would disable the engine. Okay. So I wouldn't be able to drive the car.
Crazy, but okay.
It's dark, and I find out it's like 1 a.m. now. Yeah. It's like 1 or 2 a.m. So as soon as he pulls into the driveway, he's barely put it in park. I leap out, and I jump into my 4Runner, and I go to lock the door, but I'm not fast. I can't find the button.
Right.
And he pulls the handle right on time.
This feels like a horror
Opens
movie.
the door, pulls me out.
Jason Voorhees is coming after her.
Drags me out of the car, slams me up against, closes the door, slams me up against the car. Again, hit my head. And that's what's wrong with me. So then I guess I'm like shivering because he leans into me and he says, what, are you afraid I'm going to rape you? And I thought, oh my gosh, like I just thought he was going to kill me. Yeah. Now I know he's going to torture me too. Right. So I was like, no, I love you. I'm just, I'm really worried about Weston. And so then I tell him, why don't we,
he's your own husband at this point.
Technically. And I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. I've done this a lot. Pissed him off, and then tell him I'm sorry.
Oh, so this is a pattern. This is kind of at this point.
This whole night has been this way of me like smacking him in the face or to.
In the past, when he was at home for a bit, it was this kind of similar where you had to play. You knew how to play his emotions to get him to not hurt you.
I don't feel like it had ever been this bad.
No, obviously.
Normally, I would just go hide.
This is his extreme. I'm just saying you kind of it was kicking in instinct of like, okay, I've been here before. I know how to.
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I don't think God would make me lie, but I don't even know how I was saying what I was saying or thinking what I was thinking because I was so scared I couldn't even think.
Right.
So I don't know how any of this worked, but I can't even tell you right now what I said to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this conversation, this part. I remember a lot of it because it was so traumatic. It's like ingrained in your brain. But I don't remember this part that made him calm down enough that he lit up a cigarette and sat down. Now, I didn't like smoking and I didn't allow it in the house. Yeah. And he was...
You start picking about... Take that outside.
And it
you
worked.
decide about what you did?
I said to him...
You got balls, Amy.
I said...
She's got balls. This guy just drag her up and down the freeway, slam her on doors and said, lights up a smoke. She's like, out! Outside!
No, we hadn't gone inside yet. I said, why don't you just relax, calm down, have a cigarette, and then we'll go inside. Right. And now I know where that button is because I saw it. The button in the door, to be clear, the button in the car door. Right. The button I have to press to lock myself in and be able to drive away safely. Right.
This feels like a nightmare.
I know where it is now, and he is about to light up a cigarette. So I tell him, why don't you just calm down and have a cigarette, and then we'll go inside. And I'm walking towards the door with him and the porch with him. So he thinks I'm going in, but I've got my hand ready. He never took my keys. Isn't that crazy? That is God. So I'm holding him in my hand. He sits down on the porch. As soon as he lights up and I wait, and my heart is pounding and I just want to run, but I know I have to wait. Right. As soon as he takes that first drag, I run back to the car. I get in. I had to unlock it, get in, lock it from the door. And I'm not kidding. I hit the button and the click came seconds before he pulled up on the handle because he was right behind me. He's a lot taller than me too, so like his legs. Yeah,
he's a big dude.
10 of my little steps were like one stride for him. So he hits the car. He hits the top of it. This left a dent in the top of my car that was there for the next. So I got the car in 99, brand new off the lot. And the car we got rid of in 2011. And that dent rusted over. It was there forever.
You got a dent up there.
Yeah. So anyway, he hits the car. I back out of the driveway. When I'm backing out of the driveway, I notice the two teenage boys next door, and it's 1 or 2 a.m., are sitting on the curb of the street, and they're just watching this whole thing.
Seems to be a theme through all of this, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
There's people watching and not doing
Nobody's helping. So I crack the back window, and Gary's in the street in front of the car, and I had backed up. And I crack the window, and I'm like, help, guys, call 911, call the police. Yeah. My husband's trying to kill me. Yeah. They don't do anything. They're probably high.
Let's not speculate on just random teenagers. Okay. They were teenagers. They were probably smoking that weed. Those marijuanas.
I'm pretty sure they were smoking the marijuana. They could care less about my plight.
Do you get away? I need to know. Okay. I know you get away.
Okay, so here's what happened.
What? What happened? Tell me.
You want to know? Okay. Yeah. So he's in the street, and I know that if I drive forward, I'm going to run him over. Yeah. And if I kill him, what happens to women who are abused who accidentally kill their husbands?
Well, I mean,
they go to prison. That's what happens.
You still can't murder him.
So I said accidentally.
I know.
Like, I'm trying to get away.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So I knew that I needed to think up something else because if I drove forward, I was going to hit him. Yeah. So my thought was back up really far enough so that I can pick up speed and drive straight for him and pray to God he jumps onto the curb. Right?
Oh my God.
That's what I did. That is what I did.
Accidental murder? She's flooring it at the guy. You backed up. This is premeditated at this point.
Well, listen, I needed to get to Wes, and
you were already in the car, locked in, and now we're driving at the dude.
I didn't have a cell phone. Did you miss that part of the episode?
That is what I'm saying.
You don't know what's going to happen.
No. Okay, guys, I'm exhausted.
Just stay in the road,
Let's be clear here. I'm
knows?
Exhausted. I'm terrified.
No,
I fear that it's me or him. Mm-hmm. I know he can break into this car. Come on now.
Yeah.
He put a dent in the top of the. I don't know. So.
No, I understand. I totally could see someone being terrified. Of course, you've just been.
And part of me
through
believed
hell.
that he didn't really want to die. Like, I believed he wanted maybe me dead. Like, the whole, if I can have you, no one else can
Could
thing.
be. I mean, now we're speculating. You know,
We are
it's-
speculating, but clearly that's what I went with. My gut. And
That's how you felt.
my
that
gut
he
was
felt.
self-preservation was most important to him, that he was most important to him.
Yeah.
So
Well, drugs were most important to him.
I mean,
Clearly, because
yeah.
they came before himself. Even they came before you, before his child. They came before himself.
many times.
'Cause
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So I back up.
I do want to say, just like a lot of family members feel like, and I'm sure you felt for a while in that situation. I don't know, you would have to say, but I've heard family members say, you know, why did they choose the drugs over me? Like, they chose the drugs over me, and I asked them to stop, and they still kept choosing the drugs. Well, they are choosing the drugs over you. You're right, they are, but they're also choosing the drugs over themselves. You know, I mean, you saw how
I
torn
didn't
up I
see
got.
it that way.
Of course not at the time.
I just saw
You
the
can't-
first part,
Yeah.
that he was choosing it over his family,
Yeah.
that was more important. That's what he was married to, and that was his baby.
But the truth is, his brain, his instincts. Now, the physical and all that shit, I don't even want to. But talk about. But as far as the addiction aspect of it, and the using and choosing the drugs over you, he was choosing them over himself as well, because the way his brain works, the instinct was coming from. It was an instinct, unless he's retraining or doing something to change. You know what I mean? Of course, he has no control over that. He was born an addict. He's found the drugs, and now, you know, he can't help himself. Doesn't excuse the actions. I'm just saying, I'm just explaining why.
Do you want to know if Gary lived?
Kind of.
Okay. So I drive really fast, and at the very last second, I swerve left, and he jumps onto the curb.
Thank God.
And I keep going, and I get to his parents' house, and I barge in the door, and it's like 2 a.m. now,
Yeah.
and Weston is still awake. Like, all the lights are on in their house. Really inappropriate. It's not really relevant to the story, but that's what I walked into. Thank goodness.
We are going a little long here.
Thank goodness I saved
cut out the
Weston.
details that
So
we
I tell
have.
them,
Yeah.
they ask, where's Gary? What's going on?
Yeah.
I tell them everything.
Mm-hmm.
They tell me, yeah, his friend called and said that he had taken some pills,
Mm-hmm.
and that they were concerned. And they told me, please don't call the police, because I said, we need to call the police. We need to call them right now. He's crazy. He's trying to kill me. And they said, please, please don't call the police. We will go.
He was getting physical. I call the police.
They said,
Put him in
we
jail.
will go and we will get him. Please don't call the police on our son. And so I listened to them.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going to just follow us over there. So,
What? What? Are you out of your
Well, that was
fucking
my
mind?
house. He didn't live there. Remember, he hadn't lived there for months.
I don't care. I'm not going over there if he's still there.
Well, his dad was a big dude too. So dad and mom are going over there. They're going to
But
get their
you
son.
already said
and
they're
take their
not
son.
stable people. Now you've got what? You're going into 3-on-1? Is that what you've decided?
Okay, you've made it very clear. Once again, I was the sober person, and I made a bad choice because I loaded my baby into my car.
Doesn't mean you deserve any of the bad shit. Just that was your part in it is all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So we drive over there. I follow them, and as we pull into the driveway, I stay in my car with Wes, and Wes has climbed up in the front seat now, and I'm holding him.
Right.
We're getting ready to go in, but I'm not going to go in yet until they tell me. And I can already see Gary's laying across the front of his truck,
Yeah.
the bed or the
Was he
seat.
hurt? What was wrong?
It looked like he had passed out or something. He
Okay.
had fallen asleep. And so they're trying to wake him up, calling his name. And
Yeah.
so his mom looks at me and says to go. So
Yeah.
I get out of my car and I go in, and I close the door and I lock the
Yeah. Lock it all
twist
up.
and I lock the deadbolt.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I hear his mom say, lock the door, Amy, lock the door. Of course, I had already done that. And I just hear one loud thud. And I back up and I'm holding Wes.
Are you sure this isn't Jason Voorhees? This isn't Friday the 13th?
It was enough for a lifetime, let me tell you.
God.
And then I hear a second thud. And in the second thud, the door jamb comes flying towards us. Like the whole...
What?
Yeah. Deadbolt didn't even work. The deadbolt's still sticking out, but the door swings open.
Holy
I run. they're yelling run.
Yeah.
Mom and the dad are yelling run.
Yeah.
And I'm running to the bedroom and I can hear like punching sounds.
Yeah.
And later I find out he's punching his dad in the face and they're both holding him back and he's punching and he all of a sudden has all this energy again and he's charging for me, and I close my bedroom door and I lock it and I look at this little pathetic door and I'm thinking there's no way this door is going to protect me. So I immediately take Wes and I run through the sliding glass door into the backyard and around through the fence and around
Back
into
in
my
your
car,
and
get
the
in my
fuck
car
out of there,
and I
please.
just believe he's chasing me, and so I get in my car and I drive.
Where are you thinking to go?
Well, I've got Wes in the front seat and we're on like a drag strip. It's like one long street, but there are several cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
So I pull into like the third cul-de-sac and I tell Weston, because I can't drive with my kid not in a car seat.
Right. Well, you can.
I did down
would
the street to get away, but now I need him to be safe because I
Right.
don't know if we're going to be in some kind of weird car chase or, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So
was
I
just
tell
saying, once
Weston,
you get out of
this
there,
part
yeah.
is kind of sweet. I tell Wes, I need you to be a big boy. I'm about to pull over and Mommy needs you to get into your car seat as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Put your arms in your straps so I can buckle you in. I'm going to come around and buckle you in, okay? And this is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, Mommy. And again, it's like 2 a.m. and he's wide awake. And I run around to the car, and when I open the door, he is sitting there perfectly with both arms in the harness and says, I did it, Mommy. And I buckle him in. And I said, thank you, baby. And I get back in the car. And as we're driving away, he goes, Mommy, this is fun.
Oh, my God. I'm going to be a Marine one day after this.
Oh,
And
God bless
lo and
him.
behold, he's at boot camp right now.
Yeah, he's going to be 20 this year. Okay, so we drive, and guess where I go? I go to Andrea and Ian's house. That's our sister, Saul and I. That's one of our
And
sisters.
Ian is, he's the guitar player on our music
on
for
our
the intro outro
on this show.
on the
yeah.
podcast.
Okay,
On
so
This Is Our Normal Podcast.com.
right. So they are together. They might be, they're newly married and they're living with her father-in-law, Ian's dad.
Yeah.
And I've only been to this house like one time, and it's in this crazy housing tract, and I magically find this house in the dark, completely out of my mind, like terrified. And but again, no cell phones, so they don't know I'm coming, and it's wee hours of the morning.
Right.
So I'm knocking on the door, and nobody's coming to the door. And Gary has never been there before, and he doesn't know the address, so that's important to know too.
That's, yeah.
So, but I don't know if he's following me or where he is, what's going on. So
I mean, you were just terrorized. I'd be freaking out too.
Yeah.
No, the adrenaline and your instincts are probably your flight mode is probably not going to shut down for a minute. You know,
it doesn't. This
Yeah.
goes on to the next day. So, I get in. I check the door, and they left it unlocked. So I walk in, and as I'm walking down the hall, I run into, I think Ian or Andrea. I run into one of them, and they're like, "What's going on?" And I tell them, and I locked their door for them. Just FYI, because who leaves their door unlocked? Anyway, so I tell them what's going on, and we all climb into their bed. Like they've
Oh
got
my
Wes
goodness.
and me, and Ian's
It's
just like our
adorable.
big protector. I think at one point Ian's like, okay, there's no room in the bed. He leaves. But like he was just so
Yeah.
sweet. And so then the next morning I call my mother-in-law's house and she answers the phone. So that means she's home. And she
Yeah.
tells me they're all there and everything's good. But my gut tells me maybe not. So,
Well, how could you ever feel safe going back to your house?
well,
the door was
okay,
just
we have no
fucking kicked
clothes.
off.
We have nothing. And I already know that I can't stay in my house because there's no front door. It's going to need, I mean,
that would be.
it's
a
going to
reason
need
not
to be
stay.
repaired.
Yeah.
So we can't stay there, but we need clothes. I have a baby and I need clothes. So I need to go back. So I call,
Nobody could go back for you.
well, I leave Weston with my sister because if anything happens to me, that's a safe
Yeah.
bet. So I call my neighbors. I think I had to call information to get their number.
Nobody knows what that is.
Well,
No, go
maybe.
ahead.
So anyway, I call them and their their like 12-year-old daughter's having a sleepover. So she has a bunch of girls over. This is important for later in the story. So she tells me, and her husband's military. He's like a reserve. And I tell them everything that's happened. And she's my girlfriend. So she kind of already knew. Like we had a
Yeah.
signal. If Gary ever showed up at the house unannounced, I would flash the porch light.
You kidding me? What is she out
I'm
there
not
at
kidding.
the front door waiting all day? Hey,
This is
hey! Somebody's flashing their light. Oh,
I mean, yes, that was our signal.
The two
Her husband came up with that, and I never had to do the signal, but now I was calling them and I was telling him.
Yeah.
So they told me, well, Gary's truck is still in the driveway. And I said, well, that's because his parents came and took him this morning. So that's why his truck is there. He couldn't drive. And they said, okay, well, we'll be looking out for you. I said, I'm just going to go and pick up a few things and leave. Yeah. So I open my garage door. It's a wooden garage door. Remember, it's 3 cars. So the 2 door I
roll
open.
up or pull?
No, it's a flat old
pull, old
yeah,
school. All right.
old school. Both doors were. Okay, so I open that and I go in and I get some things from the garage and I put it in my car. And then I go in through the side door into the, which had already been repaired once from another time when Gary broke in and terrorized us. That's another story. Oh my God. Sorry, God.
This one.
Okay, so let's just get through this
you
story.
You go in the house, you're looking for clothes.
Okay, no, I get inside and guess who's there?
Obviously.
Gary is laying on the love seat. Totally out, and his dad is there, and he looks at me and puts his hand over his finger and he's like, shh. And I look at him and I walk up to him and I'm like, what's going on? I just talked to Kathy and she said that you guys weren't here. And he said, well, you know, it was oh, by the way, lamps are over, chairs are over. They had to shut off the gas to the house because he slammed the stove into the wall through a rage and broke the what is it, the little gas line behind the stove. So gas was leaking into the house. And
meanwhile, all you're thinking of,
there's dents in the wall.
All she's thinking is like, I need to get to that fucking porch light. Give me my signal.
So, okay, so I whisper to him, I'm like, I'm just getting clothes for Wes and I. And he says, okay, yeah. So I go back into the back bedroom. I go into Weston's room. I grab a bunch of stuff. I put it on my bed. I grab my backpack because I don't even have luggage. Yes. I am putting some of my stuff, like my makeup, my toiletries, some clothes, clean underwear, onto the bed to put it into this backpack. Yeah. And all of a sudden I hear Gary go, Dad, are you here? And his dad says, yeah, I'm here, Gary. By the way, his dad's name is also Gary.
Oh, that's right.
And so he says, are you...
We're really giving out names on this one. We're going deep.
No last names.
Most podcasts are like, we won't know names. We're like... Name.
Just a few name drops. Okay, so Gary says to this other Gary, are you really here, Daddy? Or Dad, are you really here? Dad, is that really you? Are you really here? Yeah. And he's like, yes, Gary, I'm really here. And he goes, where's Amy?
Not here.
And his dad says, she's in the bedroom.
What the fuck, man?
My heart immediately.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like in my stomach. I'm thinking, why? So he leaps
Why?
up
He
from
knows
the couch.
what's going to happen,
he
right?
leaps up from the couch. He has all this energy. I close the door. I lock it, knowing that's not going to do anything.
Doors, you may as well not even close them.
Yeah.
They've been kicked off. I'm surprised there's still a door there.
So I close the door.
Good
I lock
thing is if you got to run out the front door, no door. You can just fucking boom.
I know. The door is barely on the hinge. Okay, so his dad is holding him back. Again, I can hear the punching of in his dad's face. And his dad's holding him back. So like the door, I'm leaning against the door. My back is against the door. Yeah. I've got my feet on the ground and I'm pushing and I can feel it like, to say it was bowing is exaggerating, but I can feel it pressing against my back. And I can feel his dad saying, Gary, stop. And he's like, I just want to talk to you, Amy. Open the door. I just want to talk to you.
It's going to last night's going to repeat again right now? Or are you scared?
I'm thinking he's going to finish whatever it was he had started. And
he's going to kill you.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy is I didn't know in that moment that that's what I was thinking.
What did you feel and think in the moment, though?
In that moment, I was thinking, can I get across my bed to that sliding glass door that was still wide open from running through it with Wes last night to the gate? Can I get to the car again? Can I do it? Because now he's at this door and he's got full energy. Yeah. Can I make it? And so I'm trying to talk to him. I'm like, he's saying, just open the door. I just want to talk to you. And I'm like, just talk to me through the door. Yeah. Just talk to me through the door, please. I promise I'll listen. Just talk to me through the door. Saying. And he's saying, why are you so afraid of me? And I said, look around. Because remember, I described how everything looked. And so his dad's just like telling him to stop. He's hitting his dad. And then finally I hear his dad say, run, Amy. Mm-hmm. So like deja vu. I run. Was that Malenko?
That's Malenko.
So I run out the sliding glass door.
Yeah.
He is right behind me. That door came in right when I was running across the room. The door barges in. He's behind me. I can hear him behind me. I can hear every step behind me. And I'm running as fast as I can, and I'm exhausted.
She looks back. He's popping out of
I can't even look back. I don't even need to look back because I can hear him.
Yeah.
I open the gate, and it swings back closed behind me, and he punches it. And when he punches it, a plank flies off that gate. I don't know it
This
yet.
guy fucking Thor?
But that's what happens.
So
I'm running.
Punching gates off, kicking doors off.
I hit the unlock on my car, but I realized I can
couches
hear
up.
his footsteps, and there's no way I'm going to make it to the car. So I had hit unlock, but I just kept running. And my neighbors, they had a fence that went down the center of our property, the front yard, but it was just one of those like wooden.
Cheap white.
It's not even like that. It's like a wooden post, and then 2 horizontal.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
a wooden post, and then
remember
2
that.
horizontal.
It looked like it should be on a farm or
Yeah,
something.
like a horse one or something. I don't know. So I didn't know that I could do the hurdle, but I learned very quickly that I could. And I leap over it. Well, because the neighbors were having a sleepover, all the little girls were looking out the window. So now I'm banging on the door, and they're all trying to unlock it. They also had a little boy,
Talk about
Weston's
a
age.
Scarring night for these little girls.
Because that little boy, well, I think they were scarred too, but that little boy would come out, would not sleepwalk, but he would wander at night.
Yeah.
And because, like I told you, we lived on like a drag strip road.
Well, hold on. Let's get to that. I want to get off
This is
track.
important.
Okay.
Because of that, they installed 2 deadbolts on their door.
Okay.
One was way up at the top, okay, to keep that baby
Yeah,
in.
regular deadbolt and a just in case Gary shows up deadbolt.
No,
basically.
just in case the baby tried to get out. So, these girls are all at the door, all trying to unlock it and fighting to unlock it and screaming and freaking out. And he's on my tail, and I mean, he's right there. They finally get the door open. I fall in. They close the door. I lean against the door, and all of a sudden, someone had put a phone to my ear. I didn't even realize it. All of a sudden, in my ear, I hear, "This is 911. What's your emergency?" And I say, "Help me, my husband's trying to kill me." And that is when I realized that I knew that was my belief.
That's when,
That's when when those words
When
flew
you
out
said
of,
it
they
out
just
loud.
came out of it. Yeah.
And you
That's
said
when
it,
I
yeah.
realized, that's what I believe is going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, for some reason that 911 operator, she interpreted that as I already had a pre-existing restraining order. And because of that, they sent the police out.
You did or didn't have one?
I did not have
yeah,
one
of course
because
not,
this
yeah.
was the first
Right.
experience like this. I end up getting granted a 3-year one. But so that made me top priority.
Right.
If that woman did not believe that, which I mean, I didn't tell her that, but
Right.
for some reason she believed that. And so
Right.
that's what she said on dispatch. If she did not believe that or say that, again, God, I would have, they told me this afterwards. It would have taken them possibly 30 to 40 minutes before they would have ever come out. And so the little girls are screaming while I'm on the phone with this woman. And then after, oh my gosh, he's kicking off the mailbox. Oh my gosh, he's opened your car. He's throwing things everywhere. Oh my gosh, he's breaking the fence.
Seeing all this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, a little bit of this goes past drug use at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen that, like, addicts, we do weird things on drugs, you know, but this feels a lot like he was also abused as a child physically, and so this might have been some of his trauma causing him to do some of this. The undealt with trauma. Not excusing never, by the way, excusing any of these. I'm just trying to figure out where this is coming from.
Well,
for him.
okay, so when he's gone and then the police want to talk to me, they told me that they had never sprayed, pepper spray or mace, I don't know what they use, but they had never sprayed someone so long and it just did not even affect him. Which is why they told me they had taken him to the hospital. One, because he had been sprayed so much, but also because they said they needed to find out what drugs he was on. They said he was clearly on drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Hyped up on something because
absolutely.
they said he felt no pain. They said he would just wipe his eyes and then keep swinging at the police.
I mean, that's like PCP type shit, but I could see some meth making you do some weird stuff like
that police officer also bragged. His name was Officer Zaparipa. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, yeah. Zaparipa?
Yeah.
What is that?
That it's just crazy that I remember his name.
Yeah,
that
it
was
is
in
cra-
2002.
well,
These things I just will never forget.
It's
Okay.
imprinted in. It was such a traumatic experience. Yeah.
People always say that to me. Why do you remember everything? And I'm like, well, and I don't remember everything perfectly. Like I said, there were conversations and little bits I've messed up. But so that officer told me that he had to go around the back of the house and come in through the back kitchen door to take him down from behind in a chokehold. And then when they did get him down on the ground, they had to restrain his legs and his arms, and they carried him out almost like the way you would think of like a pig that was getting ready to be
they hogtied
hogtied, kind of like that.
Almost like they hogtied him.
But they
you ever heard of it?
They off the record, they didn't. But that's how they were. Like,
No, that is hog. That's what they do. They
hogtie.
hogtie.
That's what that is. Okay. All right. I guess they did.
You ever watch Cops? It's the best show on TV.
That is what they did. They took him to the hospital.
Yeah.
And they ran his blood. And I know that he tested positive
For vampire.
Methamphetamines and also heroin.
Yeah.
I knew those two things came up. I don't know what else came up, but I was told those two things came up. And then that police officer gave me a card. And this is what happens to an addict's wife who has just gone through hell. They gave me a card to...
Well, in your experience. We always have to speak for ourselves.
It's definitely in my experience. But when the police showed up, because this is now domestic violence, and the police were the ones pressing charges because he actually assaulted them, they gave me a card, but they waited until my father-in-law left. In fact, the police officer left, and then he went down the street. He told me this later, and waited for my father-in-law to leave, and then he came back, and he gave me this card to a women's shelter, and that was like this little room in a church.
A women's shelter. You have a home at this point, but it's like, see, this is another part of why going through an experience like that, why a lot of women can't get away, is because it's like, well, where do I go? The fucking women's shelter? I have a home with a child right now. So what? Oh, if I just take a few beatings, if I take a few of this, then at least my child gets to have a home and be, you know what I mean?
Well, his parents were helping to pay for that. And of course they were done now because I had called the police. So I had crossed them. So
not
we were
saying
homeless.
there's anything wrong with living in a women's shelter. I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
So no, we didn't. This women's shelter
down.
was not a shelter where you live. They didn't even have that in our city. Oh. I was homeless. We were living out of our car. And we, there was a professor at the college that I was going to, and him and his wife, let us sleep.
They took you in?
They let us stay there. But we were living out of our car, like whatever I could put in the car. Yeah. So, but this women's shelter was.
Wait, so you left him. You left him after this.
I went to the domestic violence. What are they called? They're domestic violence advocates. And I went to this. It was this little room in a church, kind of hidden away in a church. And this woman had a box full of cell phones. This is when I got my first cell phone. Yeah. And they don't have service, but you plug it in and you charge it and you can call 911 from it. And it's so that you can call 911. And then she helped me file all my paperwork. She helped me write up my statement. She went with me to court every time. And the first time I saw him again was when we were in court, and it was just this one table, and I had to sit next to him. Like, you sit, the plaintiff and the defendant sit. There's like nothing between you. And I just was shaking the whole time. And the coolest thing, it was Commissioner Ellsworth. She was amazing. And she asked him, did he think that he should have some kind of temporary visitation set up immediately so that he could see his son?
No.
And he said yes. And she said, why? And so he started to talk. And I don't even remember what he said.
Can he piss clean?
Not yet.
Yeah, then no.
And he never does. But at this point, there had been no tests. But so she said, she cut him off while he was talking. And she said, Mr. we won't say his last name, Gary.
Yeah.
Do you recall a time at which officers had to spray you in order to subdue you? And he's like, yes. And she's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You know, you're going to have to get these drug tests done. And if you fail to do them, you've automatically
Did
failed
they offer
them.
him drug court? Or like what? Because the officers were pressing charges.
Well, that was a different case. Okay. This was for the restraining order. So this was our case. That's a separate thing that I wasn't a part of. Yeah. But anyway, so she cut him off and she made him explain, and then she called him out. Then she turned to me and she said, you know, do you feel that he should have some kind of
He
visitation.
said, I feel like I should scoot a couple chairs to the left.
I kept looking
You
at,
know?
is it the bailiff, the guy with the gun in the courtroom?
Yeah.
I just kept looking at him. He made me feel safe. Like,
Yeah.
I just looked at him like, be ready.
Yeah.
But I said, no, because, and as soon as I said because, she goes, that's all. Like, she didn't need any explanation from me. So she just said, you have to take this test, and if you fail them, blah, 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 and you won't get to see him. He never took the tests. And then he had some classes he had to take, obviously.
Yeah. So you went through, just hell with this guy. He not only is he leaving you to fend for yourself, with the child and raise your child, but he's also, when he does show up, he's abusive, and he's actually he wants money from, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not, he's not adding anything at this point because he can't, he can't, and he needs to go get help. But it's crazy. So we've gone long on this one.
Yeah.
And it's been a great episode. This has been fucking awesome. Everybody's going to love this. And I want to do another episode with you because what I just heard was you going through some deep, dark trauma. And at the end of it, you decided, you know what? I'm done with this shit. You did go, you got help, and you got out of it. A lot of women don't get out. Most women don't get out of that, and you're able to get out of that situation with your child. You went to court, you did all that. So it is possible. It is possible to do it. And I want to have another episode soon where you come on and talk about your success after, you know what I mean?
Well, I think we should talk about, if we do this again, about my experience with you, because I will say that after this experience with Gary, the way I felt about all drug addicts was that they were monsters.
Right.
And that they were selfish. I didn't understand them. I had no compassion or empathy for them.
Why would you?
All I could think was, I've been through a lot in my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't choose drugs. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Exactly.
I just hated them.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand.
Of course. With going through that experience, and because there's nobody's out there telling people what addiction really is.
Yeah. I believed he chose it. Do you understand?
Well, he did.
No, but I didn't believe that he didn't have control.
You believe he was making choices and he's choosing to use, and he
was
right.
choosing it over us.
You're
he was
absolutely
choosing
right
it
on all that. Here's what it is. They are choices. When people say, "Is it a choice or a disease?" Besides the fact that every medical association in the world says it's a disease, the other part is it's choices. You're choosing to use. Sometimes you're sober and you choose to use. People tell me that it's not a disease. I was sober. I still chose to use. Okay, you did. You did, right? I believe you. You did. Is that a logical decision? Would a person without an impulse control disease make that decision to go back to the drug or substance that's caused them to destroy their lives, hurt their families, that just every time they use it, their life goes to absolute shit. They lose everything. Is that a logical decision? Would somebody, you would not choose to pick that up because you'd be like, oh, last time I did this happened, never doing that again. But somebody with this disease goes, I'm going to make that decision again. And that's what the disease is those bad, the choices are the disease.
Yeah.
The choices are the disease. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't understand that fully. Honestly, I still wasn't very connected with you until I went to one of your meetings. Yeah. When you were in rehab. But I just want to say one more thing. Yeah. When Wes was 3.5, and remember, this is our little Marine now. Yeah. He's fully grown. I was putting him to bed, and this was kind of shortly after all of this. Yeah. We finally had our own little place. We were living in the projects across from a graveyard, but I made it so cute and so sweet, and it was our little place.
Every day it was a reminder, like, thank God I'm not on that side of the street.
I know. Honestly, Saul. Honestly. Okay, real quick. So I was putting him to bed, as was our routine, in this little fire truck bed. And I would read to him and sing to him. And he was almost asleep. And he said, Mommy, where's my daddy? I want my daddy to come home. Yeah. And I said, he can't come home. Yeah. And he said, why not go and get him? And I said, I can't get him. I can't make him come home. He's broken. Then fix him. Fix daddy. And I said, I can't fix him. He doesn't want to be fixed. And he said,
That's hard.
He
Your
said, "Why
child.
doesn't my daddy love me?"
Yeah.
He said that at 3.5. It killed me. And I said,
Oh, man.
I said to him that his daddy wasn't a bad person. These are things that I said throughout the years, but that he took bad drugs that made him make bad choices.
Yeah.
And I told him that, his daddy loved him. But
Oh, man.
to be honest, when I would
my
say
God,
that he loved
breaks
him,
my heart.
I didn't know if he did. I didn't know if he was capable.
Right. I mean, it doesn't seem like he showed you any love. You know, you never got to see a sober person. You were married to an addict that was deep in their addiction and had no plans of getting out.
And I was clueless.
Yeah, of
To
course,
be very
you'd never
clear, I
dealt with
didn't
it
know
before.
anything about drugs. I didn't know
No.
what they looked like. I didn't know.
Growing up in our house, we didn't take Tylenol.
Yeah.
It was like, no, just we're tough it out. You know what I mean?
Suck it up.
That's why when I started doing drugs, everybody was like, what the fuck? He's picking up for every single thing ever. He's got to take a pill. Everything. I hurt this. And now all of a sudden everything aches on me all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
So we're like, that's not how we were raised.
And see, for me, because of everything in my life, the only thing I've ever had control over was my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so clarity is so important to me, and being able to have my own thoughts and be in control of them. So not having my wherewithal, it terrifies me.
Yeah.
So I'm just the very opposite end of the spectrum.
I know it. It's so crazy. And you've been through, so much trauma. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of trauma. Then you get married and it's like, oh my God. I mean, this guy's beating you and doing this ridiculous story, threatening to kill you. You get through that. I mean, Aime, you have a degree, you have, you know what I mean? You have a great home. You're married to a wonderful guy now. I mean, you're married to a wonderful guy. And that guy's was a great father to Weston, right? His whole life.
He stepped up for Wes. He was
you were
there
blessed.
when in the other room we had just started dating.
Yeah.
Went and he heard Weston say, "Why doesn't my daddy love me?"
And he was like, "I do love you."
Oh, well, I didn't know it yet.
We better wrap this up. We went way over this. We might make this a 2-parter. We'll see what we got there. Joel just looks at me with the
Joel's
deuces.
like, it's a 2.
Not to mention, we are late getting home. We're gonna get written up. We still live in a sober living house. Anyways,
Wow.
Aime, your story is one that I really appreciate you sharing. That's a lot and hard to share, and it's nice to get to see the other side of it. Get to speak to somebody who was dealing with a drug addict and not knowing what to do, and kind of to see how you figured it out as you went along, and get to see what, as an addict, what we put people through sometimes, what we put the people through, and nobody know, we'll get upset with them with how they react to it, but it's like, how are they, so they've never dealt with this before us, guys. They never had to dealt with anything like this until they deal with us. So,
and they didn't choose it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, it was nice to get to see the other side and share some of that. And we'll have to do this again really soon. I really appreciated this, Skim. Skim, that's my nickname for it.
Do you know what you used to say? I'm so glad I didn't cry. I was worried that I was going to say something that would make me cry.
Yeah.
And you used to say, "Don't cry, Skim. You look fat when you cry."
I've always been hilarious.
That's what you do when you're the only brother of 3 sisters. You're like, "Oh, there's a lot of crying. You all look fat when you cry. Don't tell a girl that."
But it always made you guys laugh. I would come in and say, "Don't cry, you look fat when you cry." All right. Hey, let's wrap this up. I appreciate you coming on the show, Aime, and I just want to remind everybody again, it's this is ournormalpodcast.com. You can go to the website, see all of the links to iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, and of course the episodes are right there on the website if you want them. You can also hit the contact button. We encourage it. Please do hit the contact button. Be part of the show. Write in, email us. That contact thing, we'll send it right to our emails. And we're going to set up call-ins where people can call in on the show, but you have to go through that contact and set it up through the email first. So go through the contact. We'll set up call-ins. I appreciate all you guys. I love all you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again. This is another episode of This Is Our Normal Podcast. See you later.